All right. Hello, everyone watching out there in internet land. Welcome to another BSides Orlando pre-show. And for those of you who are probably like, where is Ian now? Ian is going through and doing his regular job. But we have an amazing pre-show for you. Uh, First, I'm actually in a suite at the Orlando City Soccer Stadium with some folks. So, um, it's a terrible life I lead. But what we want to do tonight is go through and help folks learn more about their interviewing skills and what they're going to do to get a better job, to interview well, and get ready for B-Sides Orlando coming up on the 18th and 19th. You can check that out. Tickets are still on sale at bsidesorlando.com. Also, our workshops, make sure you check those out. But you don't want to hear any more about that. You want to hear from the folks who are going to be talking about this stuff. All right. How you
All
doing?
right.
We got Steven Enda. How are you?
Hey,
Hey,
good. Uh,
Wonderful.
Thank you for the introduction. Let me tell you a little bit about Career Village before Steve starts.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Yeah, please. This whole thing is about Career Village, so let's hear about it.
yeah, so we've got very exciting things this year. I'm Edna, by the way. I run the Career Village along with Levi, and we have before the conference even starts, we have several webinars that are taking place. We had one last week. There's the one tonight about interviewing. Next week, we have one that's going to be on the digital portfolio. And the final one is going to be for hiring managers, and it is on how to hire better. And then during the conference, which is on October 19th, it's a Saturday, we're going to have an all day activities at the village. We're going to have resume reviews. So bring your resume. We're going to have mock interviews. So if you're wanting to build up your confidence in the interview, go ahead and sign up for one of those. We're going to have a physical job board. So if you're an employer, send me your jobs. And if you're looking, definitely come and check those out. We're going to have bracelets. They're going to be like rubber bracelets, and they're going to be one is going to be I'm hiring, the other one is going to be I'm looking for a job. So that makes it easier for people to find each other. We're also going to have Career Village Bingo, and I'm very excited for it. We're going to have bingo cards, and you're going to go and find all the things on the bingo card, and that's going to get you raffle tickets. So make sure you go stop by Career Village, pick up your wristband, pick up your bingo cards, and go have fun. And now I'm going to introduce you tonight's speaker, Steve Hannon. Steve is my manager, actually, and was the one that interviewed me. So I know that he knows how to interview people. I'm very
y-
excited to have you tonight, Steve.
thank you. We get one right once in a while, right? All right.
Thanks.
So a little bit of background on who I am. As Edna said, my name's Steve Hannon. I am the manager of a security operations center at a large local healthcare systems here in Central Florida. I've been doing cybersecurity for about 18 years. Some of my former roles, obviously, was a security analyst for a while, as a forensic investigator. I've done incident response. As a security engineer, architect, I've spent a good bit of time in security. I have done a lot of interviews. This will be really evident pretty quickly, but I'm not a public speaker. So bear with me. Don't flame me too hard. This isn't a thing that I normally do, but I do like the idea of helping folks get into the field. So here I am. Quick disclaimer, all the information here is that it's expressed here is of my own opinions. It's not my company or any other entity. Get that out of the way. I assume most of you guys are here looking to get into cybersecurity field for the first time. And the info that I'm going to share here is generally geared towards that audience. If you're already in cybersecurity, looking to get a better cybersecurity job, I will be happy to take questions towards the end of this. My advice to you is going to be significantly different than what I'm going to go over here, though. One last caveat: these tips are based on how I and other people that I know in the field do interviews. No matter where you go, you're going to get a unique experience. Don't expect that any of this is going to be like a silver bullet. You're always going to have some degree of needing to feel the room out. All right, I try to break this into logical stages to make this more fluid. but don't get too hung up on what's in each stage. Are the slides up? Yep, there we go. All right, so before you apply, while you're looking at your job postings and doing your prep work, ask yourself this question. Ask yourself, this is an honest question too, like what is your motivation for getting into cybersecurity? I'm going to mention this a couple times. This is a field that I believe really requires you to have a passion for to be truly successful and avoid burnout. There is no end to the learning process. Been doing this for, like I said, for almost 2 decades, and I'm still constantly learning. It's actually one of the reasons I love doing this job. Folks that I've come across that didn't have this passion or a desire to continue to learn tend not to last very long. So why am I saying that? It's a weird thing to open with, right? I'm not trying to deter anyone in any way, but I can tell you that during interviews, it's one of the most important qualities of the candidate that I look for. For me and other people that I've spoke to, we all look for that in our candidates, and it can really be a differentiation in who we pick for our candidates or for our hires. Next up, what's the position you're applying for? The level of the position that you're applying for really matters. And if you're breaking into cybersecurity, don't expect to come in and get roles as a pen tester or a threat hunter as your first job. Your professional background here really does matter, of course, and there are exceptions to that. But in general, it's going to be hard to do more advanced cybersecurity jobs when you haven't done the entry level ones yet. So make sure you understand what you're applying for. And while that seems obvious, it's going to lead me into the next point. Don't get too tied up in your job descriptions, the job descriptions. There's a couple of reasons for that. Depending on where you're applying, it could be a hiring manager that made the job description, a recruiter, or an HR person that posted it. It's been my long-term experience that the latter two of those people actually have no idea about the job and sometimes don't even ask the hiring manager, which is super fun for us. I've had to level set with plenty of candidates on interviews to reset the expectations, and also had a number of battles with HR just to get them to put the information up correctly. So the bottom line there is don't be scared off from applying to something just because the way the job is written. You definitely will not get a job that you don't apply for. Research the company you're applying for. There's a couple of reasons for this. One, and I think the most important one, is figuring out if that's going to be a good fit for you personally. Figure out what systems that company's using, and you can do that through some open source intelligence, looking at LinkedIn, Glassdoor, etc. Is it a big company or is it a small company? Are they going to have a good security budget? Big companies tend to have bigger security budgets. Or is it going to be like Bob's Taxidermy, who has a router from Best Buy? If you're breaking into cybersecurity, that may or may not be the job you're looking for or the experience you want. If you can, figure out if it's a small or large security team. Large teams tend to be very siloed, which I'm not saying is good or bad, but you need to figure out whether you're okay doing, maybe only engineering or operations or something like vulnerability management, or if you're looking to have more exposure in all specs of it, of cybersecurity, and that tends to be a little easier to accomplish faster on smaller teams. They tend to wear many hats. Again, it's going to come down to your personal preference and what you're looking to get out of it. I really recommend LinkedIn and Glassdoor for figuring out some of that. And if possible, talk to the recruiter. Sometimes they will give you that information as well. Other things you can look for is trying to figure out what that company offers, like in their total compensation package. For example, do they pay for training or education? These are all things that help you apply for the right position. Lastly on there, write a professional looking resume. Don't use fancy colors, don't do crazy backgrounds or weird fonts. It might look cool, but it's probably not going to make it past an ATS or a HR person. Managers and recruiters don't want to struggle to read resumes. You just keep it simple, keep it professional looking. Don't be afraid to get help with writing it. I will provide a link at the end of this for some resources for that. Moving on to the applying part. As I mentioned before about the people that write the descriptions, it's not always the people you're going to talk to. They don't always really know what they're putting in there. When you look at job descriptions, don't get put off by a position that has like crazy requirements or really lofty requirements. If it seems ridiculous, you can pretty much assume an HR person or a recruiter made that and not the hiring manager. Don't be afraid to apply anyway. Just talk to the interviewer and understand what they're really looking for. I've seen loads of entry level jobs that were posted and they're asking for 5-6 years experience or experience on specific systems. um, yeah, don't be put off by that. Do some research on the listed systems so you can at least like know what they are, but don't worry whether you've used that specific system or not. If the position is looking for specific certs, don't be scared off if you don't have those. If you do get an interview, just express a willingness to take and pass those if they desire. I'm always amazed that things like CISSP show up on entry level positions, but sometimes it does. Certs aren't the end all be all of requirements or learning. They do sometimes help you get an interview though. I will have some certs, some baseline security certs listed at the end here as examples. As I can tell you as an interviewer, I'm far more interested in how a candidate can demonstrate how they could apply what they learned when they took those certs or studied for those certs. That's a lot more interesting to me than just having alphabet soup on the resume. I know I have colleagues that I think are addicted to getting certs that have crazy amounts of them. That's not impressive. Like being able to actually apply it is impressive. Having some certs does at least tell me that you as a candidate are putting effort in to get at least baseline information that's relative to the job. So bottom line here is I don't think it's critical to have a ton of certs, but the basic entry level ones are good to have. On the next tip, I would say don't be afraid to use contracting agencies, especially if you can get a contract to hire position. As Edna mentioned, she works for me, and that's actually how I hired her. It's a nice avenue in. Some companies will only use contracting agencies. Some prefer contract to hire. Some don't. But at least would let you get your foot in the door. I actually started as a contractor for my first job many years ago, and moved into IT pretty quickly. It's a nice way to be able to get in and actually show that you can do things and that you're going to be a solid employee. It takes a little of the guesswork out of it for hiring managers as well. So on my last point on here is to keep your salary expectations realistic. I do see a lot of people that just come fresh out of school, brand new shiny degree, and they expect to hit the ground making like senior money. It could happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's an area where I think you really need to keep your expectations realistic. And most importantly, what I'm saying here is don't pass up a great opportunity to break into a company in cybersecurity just over money. Like the money will eventually come. Let's see. All right. So going on to actually doing the interviews. One of the things that really I pay attention to when I'm doing interviews and catches me all the time is when people put things on the resume, but then they can't really speak to it. I think that's one of the fastest ways to have an interview go south. If you can't really speak to it, don't put it on there. I've had a lot of candidates who have heard of things and they list those out in their list of skills. And if I ask them any questions in detail about them when they can't answer it, it's not a good look for you. Like just stick to the things you know that you can actually speak to. Conversely, I will say do put things on your resume that you might not think are typically included on resumes because it could matter. Just don't bloat it unnecessarily. This is an area where I think some people maybe sell themselves short. Some examples: your rankings on sites like Hack the Box or Blue Team Labs Online, or your involvement with doing CTFs or your placement on CTFs. relevant accomplishments, involvement in local cybersecurity communities, conferences like BSides, etc. To me, those are all things that show that you're taking initiative and learning on your own, and they're things that I look for frequently. Kind of back to the first point, but when you get asked a question on it, it's specifically a technical question on an interview, don't try to BS your way through it. The interviewer knows. You're not going to fool them into getting a technically correct answer. They're going to understand that you're either guessing or you just threw a wild answer out. It's okay to not know everything. Nobody knows everything. If you're taking a stab at something, just say that for context. Let the interviewer know you're not really sure. Maybe you've heard of it. I think it's this, or I think it's, it works this way. Just make sure that they understand that you're not trying to, fool them or make make it sound like you know something that you don't. I always have questions on my interviews that I expect my interviewee to not be able to answer. I don't just do that for fun. It's just to see how much they know, including above the role that they're interviewing for. Because when I'm interviewing, I'm often also thinking about future considerations and where I think they would, where they might grow in our program, right? So if you can't answer something, just say you don't know. If it's a phone interview or a remote interview, don't use AI. We can tell. I've had more candidates on remote calls using AI than I care to admit. We can almost always tell. The answers are going to sound like they were right out of a textbook, because they are. We can hear you typing most of the time. There's consistent delays in the response. Just don't do it. One of the things that I love to look out for, and I promise you, I ask on every interview, which be aware of recent cybersecurity events and the trends that are going on. I've never been in an interview as the interviewee or the interviewer where that question's not asked. If you're going to be in cybersecurity, it's expected that you know what's happening out there. I still spend the first part of my day reading various cybersecurity sources. Packet Storm is one of my favorite, and I'm going to provide links at the end of this. Even Twitter. Twitter's a fantastic aggregator for cybersecurity information. There are other things you can do when you don't have experience yet as well. There are free resources out there such as Triage and AnyRun. If you're trying to get into cybersecurity, going through their public-facing submissions and understanding how malware looks when it's in a sandbox and kind of understanding how it works is a great way to kind of get a leg up and be ready to hit the ground running, and at least be able to explain what you've seen and how it looks. Coming back to this, I started with this, I'm going to end with it as well. Find a way to express your passion for the field. If you don't take anything else away from this talk, take this. I tell people all the time that I can train recruits on how to do almost anything in cybersecurity, but I can't train them how to have passion for it. I've hired more than a few folks, including Edna, because I saw the passion that they had and who I thought they'd be rather than what they knew at that particular time. Not everyone hires this way, for sure, and not everyone can, depending on their situation or current needs. But a lot of managers want to, and this could give you a huge edge with the hiring manager when it comes to decision time. On that last one, don't be a lone wolf, and I'll explain what this means. What I'm really saying here is demonstrate that you're willing to be a team player. Don't come in. Don't think that we want you to come in as a interviewee and come across as a cocky know-it-all that can do everything. Most managers I know don't. Nobody knows everything in cybersecurity. It's just not possible. It's way too broad of a field. We don't expect people to know everything, and we really want people to be team players. I know for my team, we have a really tight team. We work together really well. It is a huge part of the reason I hire new people into my team. Like that by itself, that and passion are probably the two most important things for me. Like I said, I can teach you to do almost anything, but I can't teach you to be a good team member, and I can't teach you to have passion. All right, just some general tips. Um, these are just some more things that grab my attention that when candidates do that I really like. They're kind of eye-opening for me and tend to get them a leg up when I'm making decisions. Uh, One is to set up a home or cloud lab, and most importantly, be able to talk about what you're doing, not just yes, I have a lab. I've had plenty of people say yes, I have a lab, and then I ask them to describe what they're doing with it, and they can't really. Um, so doing things like that and proactively, I think is a pretty good way to show your passion and that you're in it for learning and to have a lot of self motivation. Learn things like Linux, Bash, Python, PowerShell. We deal with these things daily in cybersecurity. Being able to at least have a baseline understanding of those languages is going to take you a long way. Run Wireshark and see what network traffic looks like. Um, Being able to understand what the packets look like is going to help you out a lot. Understand statefulness with firewalls. I still run into designers and architects that struggle with statefulness on network traffic. It's going to give you a huge leg up if you understand that. Do things like set up pfSense or Security Onion at home. You can do those things for free or practically free. Um, Not exactly enterprise level security tools, but it's going to give you a pretty good idea how things work. It's not that dissimilar. And then sign up for measurable and observable services. These are things like Let's Defend, Hack the Box, Try Hack Me, BTLO, CTFs. Something where you can show, hey, this is my profile. Here's my accomplishments in it. Anyone can see them. You can see what your ranking is. These are all great hands-on learning tools, and again, shows motivation and desire to be good at the field. And I've lost my mouse. Sorry. There we go. Join local groups. I will provide a link to one at the end here. There's local cybersecurity groups that meet monthly, bi-monthly, every couple, 6 months, whatever. Great to get into. Attend conferences such as BSides. You guys are kind of already there. Subscribe to cybersecurity YouTube channels. There's a ton of decent information out on YouTube. Tap into the local cybersecurity community. You guys are already here doing that. And the last one, and it's actually one of my favorite, and it's actually why I got my first cybersecurity job. Don't be afraid to follow up with the interviewer if you can. My first interview did not go great. I knew a lot of what they were asking for. I didn't know everything. Some stuff I knew, but I was nervous, so I blanked. Couldn't think of what the right answer was. One of the things that I did was immediately after the interview. By the end of the day, I had fired an email off to the interviewer and gave them all the answers to the things I couldn't answer. They literally hired me because I did that. They knew that I really wanted to get into the field. They appreciated the extra effort and follow up on it, and it is literally why I got hired. And here are some of the resources I've been talking about. And Edna or Ian, if you could drop those into the chat for people, I'd appreciate that. My team uses Blue Team Labs online and Hack the Box quite a lot. We enjoy the competition, but it's also a fantastic learning resource. I just dropped a handful of YouTube channels out there. There's many, many more. At the bottom there, I have 2 links. The SOC Career Guide, which is co-authored by John Hammond and Josh, I keep forgetting Josh Copeland. Josh Copeland has some really great information about getting a SOC career going. And the Indeed link there has some decent tips on how to get past the ATSs and actually get your resume in front of real recruiters. Other links in there are the links for AnyRun and Triage if you want to go look and see what some exploded malware looks like in a sandbox. And then just a couple news links. There's obviously many, many more. Those are two that I use frequently. And again, a couple links for some local groups. BSides Orlando, you guys are already here. You're aware of that one. DC 407 is another local one there. And a couple of the baseline certs that I was referencing. A couple of CompTIA ones up there. Net Plus, CISA, Security Plus, Network Pentest Plus. EC Council has the Certified SOC Analyst and Certified Ethical Hacker. Net Plus, I think a lot of people sleep on Net Plus. Getting that net understanding of how the network works will really take you a long way in being able to get and keep a cybersecurity job. The network traffic and the way OSs work is the underlying details of everything we do in cybersecurity. And with that, I believe that is the end of the presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions. Can't hear you, Ian.
I am a pro and have remembered that there is such a thing as the mute button. So no, thank you for coming, and thank you. That was incredibly helpful for a lot of folks there. There are a couple questions in there. I did answer one, but just in case you'd like to answer it, we had a question where someone just frankly asked, what is contract to hire? Well, when you get these offers, what is that?
So contract to hire, a contracting agency will work with a organization to find them an employee. When you do a contract to hire, they will set up a contract for a specific amount of time, very typically, somewhere between 2 and 6 months, sometimes 12. And they can give you the employer the option to do a contract to hire. So at the end of the contract, if the employer is happy with the contractor, they will work with that entity and actually take them on as a full-time employee. So they'll no longer be a contractor; they'll actually be a full-time employee, as if they had just been hired directly.
Awesome. All right. So no, that's exactly what I would expect. So excellent. And then the other question that came out here is you mentioned home labs. What are some of the things that you'd like to see in a home lab? So the actual question was, what would be good to have in a home lab?
So there's a couple ways you can do it. So home lab, I also mentioned pfSense and Security Onion. Those are things you can set up in a home lab. I actually have an enterprise level firewall at home that I use, a Palo Alto firewall that I have set up very similarly to an enterprise. You can do if you want to just start simpler, you can do things like just segmenting off your guest network from your regular network, particularly on wireless. Even home routers, some home routers will allow you to do that. If you can pick up a cheap switch that'll allow you to do things like VLANing, it's a good way to learn segmentation and ACLs. You can run Wireshark for free. You can pick up relatively inexpensive hardware that'll let you do things like packet capture across the network. pfSense will let you do functions like web filtering, a little bit better than like a home router parental controls will do. I'm sure there's a lot of other things, but that's what came to mind. You're still muted, Ian.
Yeah, I was just unmuting as I was talking. So my home lab is generally whatever leftover gear my children haven't broken, and then you just load whatever onto it, right? So for those who are listening still, again, thank you for joining. If you are wondering where to put questions, if you registered for the webinar, you can go into the chat function there. Looks like we did get one more question here, but I'm going to answer that question, but you can go into the chat function there if you're logged in through StreamYard in the webinar function and ask the questions here. But the question we've got here for you, Steve, is we're looking, we are all looking into AI for big things. What do you see as big things coming in that area for the blue team?
Yeah, So that's a slippery question. So we do use AI in limited fashion now. The big things from my perspective isn't really what a lot of the vendors are selling, air quotes selling. Uh, we use it a lot to supplement our knowledge, right? So as an example, we use AI to write better KQL queries sometimes, which is a query language for Microsoft. We use it for creating better PowerShells. I caution anyone from just using AI to write it. Like you need to use your eyes and really read it because AI does what's called hallucinating and will make things up sometimes. Not as much with code as some other areas, but it still happens. Um, so yeah, right now we're really just focused on using it in supplemental ways. It I don't see it ever replacing a human, if that's kind of where you're going with the question.
No, I think that's a good answer. I would agree with you too that I don't think there's anything to fear with most AI tools, especially in our industry. But just like any new tool, you should be prepared to learn it and how to utilize it as a tool. Because if you don't, someone else will. As security professionals, we need to figure out how to secure it and how those people are using it. So, looks like Travis just dumped an article in there about generative AI for Microsoft Learning. So great. Give folks a few more minutes to formulate any sort of questions they have before we wrap up. But Edna, while they do that, why don't you refresh the audience on the next, what is it, 2 webinars we have coming up for the Career Village?
Yes, we've got very exciting webinars coming up. The next one we have is on digital portfolio. And you can find all of the information on BSides Orlando's website. If you go on to the navigation to, what was it, events, and then you click on Career Village, it'll take you to the Village page. It's also like the website /career_village. But we have Yesenia is doing a talk on the digital portfolio, and that's happening same time next week. And then on the week, the Wednesday right before BSides Orlando, we have the How to Hire Better panel. And we have some really great people from the Orlando community who are actively hiring people who are going to have a discussion about what are some things that they can do to do it better. And it's going to be an excellent panel. Thank you, Ian, for sharing the link there. Um, and then for when we get to the village, we have at BSides Orlando, we have an all-day career village activities. So make sure you stop by. We are going to have bingo cards. I'm very excited for the bingo cards. So that's going to give you things that you can go do, and then you'll get raffle tickets. But make sure you pick up your bingo cards, your bracelets, and raffle tickets when you come to Career Village. We'll have the resume review as well as mock interviews that you can sign up for. So make sure you get there early so you can sign up for a slot. And then we'll have a job board. It's going to be a physical job board. So if you're an employer, make sure to send your job listings to me. But we'll have some employers that we've already talked with are going to be there on site. So they'll have their job listings up there. You wear your bracelet, and then you can network and talk with the employers on site. There are some employers that have already said that they will be there willing to interview people on the spot, do a quick introduction interview. So definitely stop by. We are very excited about all of the things that we've got going on, and we look forward to having you joining us. You
So,
gotta unmute.
it just takes a second. I go, so with that being said, I don't see any more questions in the chat. But Steve, if folks do want to find you, LinkedIn, You got to
Yeah, I
find
am on
me.
LinkedIn. I am on LinkedIn. I will tell you, I will respond.
Hmm.
It might take a little while. I'm not great
No,
at checking it, but I will eventually respond.
wonderful. And you're going to be out at BSides Orlando? People see you? Say hi?
I will be at BSides, and I will be
Wonderful.
walking around. Feel free to walk up and ask me anything.
Wonderful. All right, so that brings us to the end of this. But yes, please, one, thank you, Steve Hannons and Edna. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing your knowledge, putting this together, and putting together the rest of these because they help people, right? They go through and they give them the opportunity to get a better job, to understand how to build their career better. And frankly, I just can't think of a much better way to spend time. So again, thank you for sharing your time. And for the rest of you, oh, we got hi. Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, and I was told to say hi to Edna. So
Hi.
they said hi. So, one, thank you for joining us in this live stream. We hope to see you at BSides Orlando on the 18th and 19th of October. Tickets are still on sale at bsidesorlando.org, including our workshops, which are amazing, low-cost workshops from incredible professionals sharing their knowledge and teaching you how to do all kinds of cool stuff in the hacker world. So, from me, Ian Meyer, part of the BSides board, Edna, Steve, and the rest of us, have a great rest of your evening. Don't hack too hard. Talk to you soon.